Hey everybody, this is Paul Ramsey with the man I love to talk neuroscience with, Dr. Manny St. Victor. How are you, Manny?
I'm great, Paul. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. So glad to be doing this again after a little bit of a break that I had to take here. I want to pick your brain in this particular episode, if we can, about mirror neurons. Can we talk about mirror neurons?
Absolutely. Let's do that. Okay, so mirror neurons.
Yeah.
I want to take a bit of a different angle on it because I want to make it practical. You know. So one of the first things is when people hear about mirror neurons, they always hear about the study where the way mirror neurons were discovered was that we had I say we, like I was in the lab. They had I think they were using rhesus monkeys or macaques, and they had electrodes to the monkey's brain, and they were doing some motion studies to see how the monkey does the motion. And the scientist, the neuroscientist in the room, had, I think it was some sort of treat that the monkey liked, but it wasn't for the monkey, it was for the neuroscientist. And as the neuroscientist was licking it or reached out for it, the monkey's brain lit up the parts responsible for reaching out. And they're like, what the heck? Because he wasn't moving. And then the concept came to realize that we are wired to simulate things that we see as a way of understanding them. That's the whole concept called embodied cognition, and then there's another concept called ideomotor theory of motion. When you see a motion, you simulate it, and it's also the mechanism of empathy. Like when you see someone hurt or whatever, or you see someone's facial expression, you kind of subconsciously, your micro expressions mimic it, and you visualize, how would I feel if I were in that person's, if I was to be in that person's shoes. Now,
so wait, can I just clarify? So we're talking about almost like, in order to understand an external experience, I have to internalize it somehow a little bit, right?
That's precisely what it is.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And as kids, when you meet your parents, you for a long time you don't really realize that it's a separate person. Yeah. You kind of you have to teach kids that their emotions aren't directly connected to mom's emotions, because the child for the first few months of his life is literally part of the mother, and when the child comes out, it takes the child a while to realize that this is a separate being. So you end up with, sometimes with mirror neuron problems, you end up with some people with autism, some people with different internalization disorders, models of bad relationships. All those things happen because mirror neurons don't get tuned right early in life, in early relationships.
Okay.
I should go simpler, shouldn't I?
No, you're doing great.
Okay.
This is so fascinating to me that I have like 22 questions already. So, first of all, can you tell us, where are mirror neurons?
Premotor cortex in your brain.
Okay, so they're in one particular region, space?
The ones that they call mirror neurons, yes.
Okay.
And I give that with a caveat because I don't want to limit people to thinking about them as one little part of your brain, because the reality of it is that we are wired not to be an individual, because really humans don't do well alone. We're wired to, once we recognize someone self-similar, we are attracted to them, we are interested in them, and we mimic them subconsciously. That's affiliation intention. Okay. The universal law of nature is the law of sync. Like if you put two grandfather clocks on the wall, they'll start syncing together. You put a group of lightning bugs in somewhere, and eventually they will all be some will slow down, some will speed up. Humans do this too, but we do it where we identify whether the person is part of our tribe, and then we get a little oxytocin bath, and we have the oxytocin video on the site discussing this. And through attachment, we see people who we see as similar, we're attracted to them, we're curious about them, we attend to them, they become the center of our attention, and we sync up our schedules together. And that comes down even to the level of when you make eye contact with someone, your pupils imitate their pupil dilation, that level of mimicry. Mirror neurons are a part of that, but the key thing under it is we're not meant to like float out alone. We're meant to be part of a tribe that has a meaning. That's how we survived at one point as people. So we imitate the scripts that we perceive to be scripts related to our identity, to who we are, to our sense of meaning. That's how we survive.
Right.
And mirror neurons are important to that because they make you have empathy for people who are similar enough to you to be part of your reference group.
So, okay, so there's there's always, when we talk about this stuff, there's always multiple functions to all of these parts. But so our big takeaway for today is that for most people, practically speaking, in day-to-day life, we're going to focus on empathy. This idea that
Yes.
mirror neurons help you empathize with other human beings.
Yeah, and recognize intention and recognize biological motion.
Right. And so I can tell you right off, like, this totally makes sense to me, relevant to what I do, because we spend a lot of time in the hypnotism community talking about the concept of rapport, that if you want to work with clients, that you have to establish rapport with them, and that if you want to, even if you're doing stage work, that you want to be able to establish rapport with your audience so that you reduce any resistance that they may feel and make them feel more like complying with you.
Yeah.
And so when we talk and we train about how to do that, what is often talked about is mirroring social activity.
Yep.
Right? So we're talking about literally matching the way your physicality is to the way their physicality is, matching your breathing to their breathing.
Mm-hmm. Voice cadence, word choice.
Right? Yeah, so consciously using this mirror neuron idea that, like, by really sort of forcing the process, right? By really forcing the process, you're going to trigger this stuff off with people, and that when you do it well, and they really start to get what you were talking about, right? Entrainment, where we're running in parallel with each other, that then you can take over the process and start to lead rather than follow.
Yep. And I'll throw a little, I got to throw a nugget in there to make it more complex. When humans are collaborating, say we're playing a violin duet together, when they watch our two brains, like this, we signal in parallel. Now, another thing is, the second I make contact with someone with the intention to collaborate on something, I think they're called psi waves. Yeah, psi waves are the waves between two brains at a frequency that indicate intention and collaboration. So when you're collaborating with someone, there's a specific waveform in both brains in sync. Yeah, and it's considered as a more harmonious wave. It's not your standard alphas or theta waves. It's sync.
Can you find that and let's put it on this?
Absolutely.
The bonus area for this episode. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, man.
That'd be great.
I will. Yeah, I think I always like to underscore the important takeaway is that we're not meant to work alone.
Yeah.
People always try to be independent and strong, etc. Interdependence, and even in non-American, in non-Western cultures, they don't have that self model. They have an intersubjective self model where self is part of a we, and that's a healthier way to be overall. And the neuroscience backs that up.
Yeah. Manny, great question in the event area. How do mirror neurons get trained?
Association.
So, give me a concrete example.
Okay, one example I can give you is initially when kids are working with mom and dad, you get that facial expression, and the kids learn what emotions to associate with what way of feeling. Because the mother will be like, "Oh, baby sad," and incrementally through repetition, you learn to associate feeling sad with a certain way of the face being. Because when you're that young, you mimic. Like the second a baby comes out, baby is smiling not because they're happy, but because, and this goes back to our utilization behavior talk. Until your frontal lobe is developed to a certain extent, you mimic. If someone puts a cup there, you grab it, and you kind of backwards make up the excuse to use it.
Yeah. I read an article a long time ago. I don't think I could find it. Well, I guess if I tried hard enough, I probably could. But that a lot of times adults, when they see a just recently born baby, that the baby smiles and they're like, "Oh, he likes me," and it's like, no, he doesn't like you. He's just hardwired to mimic, right? And so, he's learning those things. He doesn't know who you are. He doesn't know whether he likes you at all, right?
If he brushes his cheek, he'll suckle too.
Yeah.
Yes, Dad, he will. Yeah. And these are all things we come hardwired with because a lot of random things happened, and these were the things that were good for survival. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, let's kind of wrap that up. I mean, so what we're talking about is something, mirror neurons that you have, and that maybe you didn't even know you had before. You're hardwired to use these, and that they help you create empathy with other human beings. And so your sort of takeaway for today would be that, no, this goes back to you're so great always about saying name it, tame it, and once you name something. So now, folks who have watched this, hopefully you have this part of you, and that you can just let it sit and exist the way it's always existed, or you could cultivate it further, right? You could be more aware of it, and you could take advantage of it more, and you could use it. You could sort of flex this muscle neurologically for your benefit and the benefit of others, because this is about connecting with people, and it's about doing better with people.
Yeah, and that's a healthier way to be.
Cool. And that's a healthier way to be. That's all we care about, right?
Yeah. I mean, the science to thrive. Yeah. Basically. Non-pathologically.
All right, so check this out. We've got the old Neuro series videos. We're going to add this to the list at hypnoticthoughts.com, and Manny will put those bonus articles that he was referencing in this there, so if you want to follow up and read those, you can. And we're back in it now. We're getting back in the groove. We'll have more stuff soon for you. Come back and join us again at hypnoticthoughts.com. I'm Paul Ramsey.
I'm Dr. Manny St. Victor.
You all have a great day. Take care.